Have you ever been vulnerable in front of anyone? Love, I believe, is the most vulnerable of all emotions, don't you agree? So I'm here to ask you, can you dare to be vulnerable in your marriage just like I do? Hi everyone, this is me, Jyotika Bedi, founder of Happiness is Love. We make relationships better. Do you feel vulnerable in your marriage? If you're honest enough to say yes, let me tell you, you're not alone. This video is about vulnerability in our marriage. I've been married for 2 decades and I'm excited to share with you my toolbox so that we can learn, grow, and share so that we can be our bestest selves. Thank you before I begin for all the love, support, and encouragement that you all shower on us. If you've already liked, shared, and subscribed to our channel, a big thank you again. If not, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Happiness is Love, 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 and also press the ding bell icon for notifications. So let's jump into what vulnerability really means before we decode what vulnerability in marriage stands for. I define vulnerability as an uncertain, risk-taking, and emotionally exposed feeling. And guess who writes this? Brené Brown, in her book, who has studied shame and vulnerability and has given an amazing TED Talk too. With that definition in mind, let's think about love. Waking up every morning and loving someone who you may or may not love back, whose safety we can't ensure, we may stay in our lives or may leave without a moment's notice, who may be loyal until the day they die or betray us tomorrow. That is vulnerability. Love, I believe, is the most vulnerable of all emotions, don't you agree? Love is uncertain. It's tricky. It's messy. It's risky. And loving someone leaves us emotionally exposed, don't you agree? So I'm here to ask you, can you dare to be vulnerable in your marriage just like I do? And we've been married for 2 decades now, and now we have open and honest conversations about being vulnerable with each other. And believe me, it's a superpower, and it's a great cement in our relationship. So before we talk more, I want you to stop and pause and ask yourself, what is vulnerability to you in your marriage? 2, have you ever been vulnerable in front of anyone? Have you been vulnerable in front of your spouse? If no, why? If yes, how did it make you feel? Let's talk a little bit about why vulnerability really matters in our marriages. Vulnerability can be inherently uncomfortable. Let's establish that. So why would you want to chase after it, especially in the context of a romantic relationship, you might be wondering? The simple answer is that a strong partnership cannot thrive or survive without a mutual commitment of being raw and real with our emotional truths. And while every relationship is unique, every family is unique, every partner is unique, feeling safe and secure enough to embrace uncertainty and talk about it openly and honestly is universally important. Now, the next question really is, how do I cultivate true vulnerability? Because again, nobody teaches us. We all know that vulnerability is healthy, it's important, it is necessary, but then how to really cultivate true vulnerability? And I was very curious, and that's why I make these videos. And this is the work that we do at Happiness is Love, where we learn from each other. When we share, we learn and we grow and we evolve ourselves to be our better selves. And if you're watching this video, you're obviously someone who is deeply committed to his or her evolution. So congratulations to you. If all of this sounds way easier said than done, let me tell you, it is. We're not really taught to be vulnerable, and some of us aren't taught to expect love and safety. Again, much of our relationship to this concept is wired in our childhood. But the good news is that there are ways to work on your approach to embrace complete vulnerability and to lean into it. And there are tangible steps that I have for you that you can take to prioritize your relationship. Number 1, Be fully present. This is so important and yet not taught to us. In today's world, we're all forced to be multitaskers. We glamorize multitasking and hustling. And to me, hustling really means rest, recovery, reflection. And when you rest, you recover and you self-reflect, you learn to be more present. But what we are taught is that a juggling act must happen. We must all juggle all the time for us to be more productive or more creative. Well, I don't think it works. If you want to have an open, honest conversation with your spouse about something that's hurt you, believe me, you need to learn how to be present. You have to learn to be vulnerable. You need to feel a sense of safety, first within yourself and then from your partner. How do you express safety to your partner is a question I want to ask you. Texting, scrolling through Instagram, or watching TV out of the corner of your eyes are ideally no-goes when you're engaging with your partner about, let's say, a hard topic. To me, vulnerability is something that I feel just before I'm having a tough conversation with my spouse. When I'm opening myself to criticism and judgment because I know my partner is coming from a place of love and caring. And what he will say to me might sound harsh or hurtful to me, but it is something which is good for my own growth, my own learning. When I start something new, I feel vulnerable. And I want us to start celebrating these. And as a community at Happiness is Love, this is what we do. We want everyone to feel supported. We want everyone to feel heard, feel seen, feel valued and respected. When splitting your attention between your partner and a million other distractions will communicate that you're not fully invested. And if you are guilty of this, as I was, please, it's time for you to self-correct, self-reflect. Make it a rule that the two of you put away your devices and tech and give each other the full attention that you need from each other. And before I start seeking it, I have to start giving it to my partner. Second, let your partner speak uninterrupted. This is again a skill that can be learned. We're not taught to be good listeners, to listen with understanding, to listen without judgment, to listen without reacting, to listen without interruption. It is so healthy for our relationships to just listen uninterrupted. It's a normal urge. You want to just jump in, and when somebody's even not finished the sentence, you want to jump in and you want to start speaking first, especially if you disagree with or are hurt by what the other is saying. But allowing your partner the space and the time for expressing themselves or their hurt is a vital part of fostering vulnerability. And this is what my husband and I practice. Cutting them off, interrupting mid-sentence will only hinder their trust and vice versa. Work with your partner to create a system of allowing one another to communicate fully before the other has the chance to jump in. Next, something that is very, very useful, a tool that I'm sharing with you, which has helped me thrive in my marriage, is to ask the right questions. Asking the right questions is an art. I think it's a science. We should be taught how to ask right questions. Once your partner is done speaking, is your instinct to refute their claims and debate their assertion? Well, you're not alone. I did the same for the longest time, and I realized this is not the healthy way. This is not the positive way. This is not the effective way. So what is? That sort of immediate reaction will only breed hostility and defensiveness, and we all know that. However, for vulnerability to grow, it's essential to make your partner be heard, be seen, and supported. And like I said, whatever you're seeking, you have to first give to your partner, and only then can you expect it. It's really that simple. Once they are done speaking and sharing with you, consider asking, how can I support you? Or how can I change that for you? You won't always have all the answers, and you may not be able to fix the issue immediately, because we all want to quick fix and, just focus on the solution immediately. But letting them know that you're willing to try is critical. I've even started asking my husband, how can I show more love and caring to you in this moment? Is there anything I can say or do to you that will make you feel supported right now? Magic happens. When you use these words, your husband or your wife will feel heard, will feel supported and seen, and you will see that the tension in the room will just disappear. It's very, very powerful. I encourage you to practice this. It comes, and people ask me, how do you do it? Well, there is only one answer: practice, practice, practice. And we're all work and learn, because every single day presents us with different challenges and new struggles and new storms. And the goal really is to keep practicing what we've learned. Because if we don't put our learning to practice, it's not going to be meaningful. Lastly, recognize your own patterns. I talk to a lot of couples every single day, and each one wants to course correct the other, find faults in the other, and focus on the other person's pattern. But what are your patterns that need work? There's nothing you can do for your partner unless you recognize, you look at, you observe yourself in action with your partner, and you're able to identify your own patterns first. If your partner is the type of person who needs a cooling off period, running after them to sort out the solution to your argument isn't going to be helpful. Maybe this is a pattern that you need to correct. Allow your partner to have the space to be an individual and talk to them about how to reciprocate the same. So I hope that this was useful to you, because I love sharing my learnings with all of you, and I really appreciate the love and the support that pours from across the globe, because vulnerability is uncertainty. It's uncomfortable. But if we embrace it, if we give it love and acceptance, I believe there is no courage without vulnerability. We all want to lead a life of courage, right? So while we were all raised to believe it's important to be brave, we also have, it's our responsibility to raise our children to believe that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. We need to dispel the myth. You do vulnerability, and I'm telling you that it is a superpower. It is something that will help you be your bestest version. I love humanity, and yes, that's why I trust vulnerability, and I believe the two go hand in hand, and vulnerability is very, very important for our growth and evolution. You don't measure vulnerability by the amount of disclosure, by the amount of courage it's also by the amount of courage you show up every single day, by knowing that you have zero control on the outcome, whether it is starting a new project, having that tough and difficult conversation with your spouse, opening yourself to judgment and criticism, just like I did and I do, and I practice it. And there are days that I fall and I fail and I make mistakes, and then I go back and see my videos to remind myself that I have to practice what I believe. I have to practice what I teach. And that's why I'm very, very grateful to all of you for, again, believing in us, in helping us build a better world. Thank you once again. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please click the subscription button. Please press the bell icon for notification, and keep spreading the cheer, keep smiling, keep shining, keep inspiring.